We got Raymond Lyons here. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Hell of a game tonight. The Wizards fell to the Nets 122-119 in overtime. Ray, you hit the group chat like during that final play. I'm watching on the broadcast, so I had the delay. Uh, Man, Poole looked like he came off that clean. The way he had been shooting tonight, I I thought that was gonna be it. I thought we might be seeing double OT, but uh, what'd you think of tonight's game, man? Like this is one of the rare feelings after a loss this year for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't be mad at it. You know, they checked a lot of boxes off. They did everything but put the finishing touches on it. Sometimes the dice just rolls that way. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, they competed the whole way through. We've been talking about that for the last few games. Their competitiveness and how that's allowed them to be successful. I feel like they definitely competed tonight. You know, they started fast. It was one of those times where, yeah, at the end of the first quarter, they shot the ball really well. You know, After that first quarter and the game was so close, and being here, looking at the game, and then looking at the box score, you wouldn't have thought that box score belonged to this game. Because the Wizards they were lights out, but the Nets were right there with them. It was a whole lot of Cam Thomas tonight, but if you just saw like the stats and not the score, you would have thought the Wizards were handily winning. So just you gotta give it up to the Nets for even though they weren't shooting the ball well, they did other things to keep them in the game. Um, and for the Wizards, man, we talk about it all the time. Nets came out in the second quarter and kind of jumped on them a little bit, but as we've said often, the Wizards rarely punch back. They punch back tonight, and that's encouraging to see. Man, Kuz, Jordan Poole. This is the kind of game we want from them more often than that. You know, um, Let me see. He took four threes and was 3 or 4, 10 for 19 from the field. He was making it a point to get downhill and score or create for others, man. I think they played a really sound game offensively. There was maybe only like 2 or 3 times I felt like they rushed some shots and and kind of got off their rhythm a little bit. But for the most part, man, I think they made good decisions. Um, and that resulted in them shooting the ball really well. Yeah, it just wasn't a lot of those head scratching moments we typically get. Of course, on the defensive end, a couple lapses here and there, but for the most part, man, the Nets just made a lot of tough shots. And it is what it is. Sometimes it, the other team just has it going. But yeah, man, all in all, of course I'd much rather them come out with the W, but I mean it's not too much to criticize from the game tonight. They just came out on the sour end of it, and it happens every game you play well, you're not going to win. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I thought one of the things, like the only couple negatives tonight for the most part to me was they turned the ball over some, which obviously we know, is going to happen a little bit. I don't think it was anything egregious, but kudos to it. It felt that way because of how well the Nets took care of the ball. Shout out to the Nets. I think they turned it over only 8 times. The Wizards turned it over 14, which isn't a lot per league averages. Like that's not horrible. It's just the Nets turned it over 6 times less. And then Rashawn Holmes only playing 12 minutes of this game was missed. Obviously, felt like Bagley came in and did a good job, but Plax is another one of those dudes where, throughout the winning streak, Holmes has done a great job with different types of bigs, just using his physicality to kind of take them out of games. We saw Clax kind of really step up for the Nets in different spurts. I thought in the fourth and definitely in OT, just being annoying on the glass on defensive possessions where it looked like Washington did a good job. Here's a tip in. Here's a putback dunk. Here's a tap out to, Cam Thomas and Jordan Poole were insanely hot tonight. from the floor. And, you know, Clax helped his team get a couple more extra possessions. But again, like you mentioned, sometimes you play good and it's just not, it just doesn't work out in your favor. But I'm with you. Credit to them. They fought back. I was worried there in OT for a little while. You saw the Nets get off to that start, and it was like, oh man, there they go. Then you saw Washington, what they've been doing as of late, respond. And they responded well. Even like that shot Poole had was about as clean a shot as you can have, considering the night he was having. So like you said, man, I don't think there's really anything to be to be super critical on them about. Obviously, would have been a little, wish they could have been a little bit tighter in some places, but look, man, you got 18 off the bench from Bags. Holmes before this game was giving you a loud double-double for the last 3 games. You missed it. Just gonna call it what it is. You missed it. You got Avdi and Kuz back, and you lost the guy who was in there, give you 13 to 13 or 14 to 14. His presence was missed. All right. So I'm simply saying, but player of the game.
Oh, Cam Thomas. You know, for a while there, he was the Nets offense for a good stretch. You know, if he doesn't go off like this, the Wizards win. Plain and simple, man. He was killing. And you know, really didn't matter who was in front of him. You know, but to the Wizards' credit, I think he had 32 through 3 quarters. You know, and they kind of turned that water off in 4th quarter in OT. So yeah, that just goes to show the strides they made, because you know, if he's having this night a couple months ago, he's sniffing 50, because it'll just keep snowballing.
Yeah, a couple months ago, we talked about Cam Thomas' career high.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, kudos to him, man. He kept the Nets in it when you know, when other guys were kind of struggling, and yeah, he just did what he does, professional scorer. So yeah, he gets the nod for me tonight.
Yeah, ditto for me. I thought he was everything for them in that first half. When Washington came out and swung first, Cam Thomas was the only net punching back. and it was a flurry of combos he was delivering. Then eventually, you know, Mikal Bridges and some others joined the party, but that was Cam versus the Wizards for part of that first half. He was just answering every big run Washington had until, you know, the rest of the band got going. X Factor tonight had some choices, but
yeah, man. Like a lot of guys did a lot of things in different spots. You mentioned Nick Claxton. You know, those extra possessions, those tip outs, putbacks, those are hugely important. Watford, he hit a couple huge shots, you know, and down the stretch to you know, to kind of keep the Wizards at bay. Man, you know, Schroeder came up big in a few spots. It was really you know, like you pointed out, Cam just kind of carried them, and then you know, other guys chipped in as it went on. But if I have to get it to one person, man, I'll have to go Nick Claxton, man. Those extra possessions were huge, you know, and at the time they came down the stretch when you know, the Wizards were trying to seize momentum and the Nets were trying to hold on to their momentum. Those little 50-50 plays made all the difference.
Yeah, to piggyback off, he said, I'm also going to Claxton. It was the timing of it was when he did what he did. It literally, Wizards on a run. Here he is, he had 3 blocks tonight. I feel like all 3 of them I remember vividly, because Washington, it was if Washington scores in those 3 times, we're talking about a different outcome. It felt like in those moments. It was 3 huge moments. He comes up with a blocks. The way he started overtime, I thought it was going to be an and one with the putback dunk. They didn't call anything, but that's a hell of a way to start OT. Otherwise, Washington looked like they were going to be out and running. Yeah, with you, Clax, for sure. Going to get to some of these comments. Blizzy Baby said, I thought when Denny got a shot blocked, the Nets got the rebound. I was thinking Cam Thomas was about to hit the final shot, but Schroeder took it and missed. Yeah, I'm sure several people in the building were happy Cam Thomas didn't have the final shot. I know Wizards lost, but I like the way they competed all 4 quarters. That's all we've been asking. And shout out Kuz, Danny, JP, 79 points combined.
Yeah, man. Those guys, they were really good tonight, man. They were measured. You know, they were decisive, aggressive at the right times. I know Poole had to turn over late, but you know, because of everything else he did, man, you don't really want to harp on that. And they ended up going to OT anyway. But yeah, of course, if he had that back, he would make a different decision. But you know, it is what it is.
And shout out Cam Thomas. He's a bad man. Yeah. Yes, he is. Keith ain't it, bro. His lineups at the end were bad. He should have never took JD off of Cam Thomas in the 4th. And he's got to start having some plays to run down the stretch, not just for Kuz. Following this thread up, they went right back to that bad habit of trying to take turns playing ISO ball at the end.
I mean, like I said, I feel like after Claxton got the putback at the first play of OT, I think they came down and rushed the 3 the very next play. But for the most part, I think they played a pretty clean game, man. You know, of course, if we nitpick every single thing, it's always going to be something to, to criticize. But I mean, nobody's perfect, and I think it was way more positive than negative tonight. So, yeah, man, sometimes you just got to take it on the chin. You know, it's never some analytical revelation as to why they lost. The Nets just made more plays. That's just what it comes down to.
And even tonight, with them at times taking turns, I don't even think I could get mad at them on a night like tonight when the 3 of them, they all had their heads about them with how they were playing. 10 for 19, 5 for 10, 15 to 24. And even so, like that 3 that they got, they ran something to get JP that open for that look. And I thought it was a clean. They executed that pretty well. He just didn't hit the shot. Like Ray said, it's just one of those nights, man. But for the most part, like I don't think you could complain if those are the 3 dudes you're paying. You got your money's worth tonight. I think that's fair to say, and it is what it is. And I think if anybody wants any like more than that, then it's a different discussion of how you look at those 3. But for me, how I look at those 3, hey man, they had a really good night. I think they missed Rashawn Holmes, and Nick Claxton kind of made them pay for it at times. Again, shout out the Bags for the 18 off the bench, but they missed Holmes on the glass. They missed the physicality. The Nets had their version of that inside. It's not physical, but he was turning shots away. He was gaining extra possessions. And Washington had that. Holmes was doing that for them the past few games. Again, I can't get mad at a win streak ending like that. They have several home games coming up. We'll see if they can get right back on the winning side of things. But for Ray and myself, y'all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we'll see y'all after Friday night's game against Detroit.